and welcome back to my channel and to another reading vlog. This is going to be my Halloween reading vlog since it is now mid to late October. I am in such a mood to do some Halloween slash spooky related activities and also to read some spooky books. I actually have quite a big TBR for this video. I'm not going to go through all the books, like that would be impossible. I have maybe about 5 or 6 that I want to choose from, so I'm just going to go over them all just now. One that I am for sure getting to is Dracula. I'm actually going to listen to this on audiobook. I always feel like it's a good idea to have an audiobook in one of these reading vlogs. It just helps me read more books. And yeah, I really like listening to classics on audiobooks. It just makes them more digestible to me, and I almost feel like they're pretty well narrated as well. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. I have no clue what to expect, to be honest. When I was in school, we actually read an excerpt from this book, and all I really remember was this guy in Dracula's manor, and I remember him looking in the mirror and not seeing Dracula behind him, like not seeing his reflection because he's a vampire. And yeah, that's literally all I remembered from that excerpt in school. That was actually 10 years ago, so I'm surprised I even remember that much. But I am looking forward to this. I saw Nosferatu earlier this year and I actually really enjoyed that. And I know Nosferatu is based on Dracula, so we'll see how similar it is and if I enjoy it as much as I enjoyed that movie. I also want to get to The Possession of Alba Diaz. This is my third book by this author, Isabel Cañas, and I really enjoy her books. They are horror, but they also lean a lot towards romance. And I don't know much about this. I know it's historical, set in Mexico, and it follows this woman who, I think she marries a man whose family run this mine, and the mine is haunted and she gets possessed while she's down there. And that's all I know, but it sounds really good. This is one of my most anticipated releases for the year, so hopefully I can get to this one during the vlog. And finally, to add a little bit of variety with the autumn vibes, I have a autumnal looking romance book. This is People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. I literally have no clue what this book is about at all. I've not even read the synopsis. I just bought it because I've read another book by this author, Out on a Limb, and it's one of my favourite romances ever. I don't even like rom-coms. I really struggle with them, but I gave that book 5 stars. I was obsessed with it. So because of the autumnal vibes and also because I have loved another book by the author, I just picked this up and have no clue what it's about. But it also has lovely sprayed edges as well. I'm definitely going to start with Dracula because I have a lot to do today. I want to do some autumn baking just to get in the mood. I think I'm going to bake it's not a banana bread, but it's almost a banana bread. And I'm going to do like a cream cheese frosting, which I've never attempted before. And I also want to do chai cinnamon cookies as well. I'm not very good at making cookies. They never turn out like a normal cookie shape. They're always really flat and always too sugary as well, but we'll see how it goes. So it's actually the next day and I did so much baking yesterday. I ended up baking and then cooking dinner for about 4 hours it took, and I made my carrot cinnamon loaf and my cinnamon cookies. The cookies did not turn out well, to be honest. As I said, I'm not good at making cookies and they turned out exactly how I thought, where they were just too flat and too sugary. But the banana loaf is so good. Like the cream cheese frosting is amazing. But anyways, I did a lot of audiobook listening yesterday and also today as well while I was tidying up, and I actually finished Dracula. It's 400 pages and I finished it. That's how much I've been doing over the past 2 days. But I'm going to give this 4 stars. This is about, well, it follows a lot of different people. And it's an epistolary novel where it's like told in letters and journal entries and documents. And the first character we're with is Jonathan, who's like a real estate agent, and he goes to Transylvania to try and sell this London property to the Count Dracula, who is a vampire, basically. Most people know that. and he kind of gets trapped there, like Dracula's not letting him leave, and then also Dracula kind of like goes to Jonathan's home in London, or like his neighborhood in London, and causes havoc for all the people in his life there as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I was so surprised at how accessible it was. I thought it'd be really wordy, and it wasn't at all. It's probably one of the easiest classics I've read. The only downside for me was just it dragged like at the second half of the middle. Other than that, this would have been a 5-star if it kept the same pace of the first half of the book. But yeah, the second half did slow it down a bit for me, and that's why I'm giving it a 4. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And now, before I make dinner, I'm actually going to do another sort of baking thing where I'm going to try and make carrot cake syrup for coffees. I saw this recipe on TikTok where you basically boil carrot, cinnamon and brown sugar, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. I don't know how it's going to taste, and also I have no ice because I want to make an iced latte, and I just put the ice in the freezer like 2.5 hours ago, so I feel like it's not going to be ready yet, but I'll still make the syrup. Okay, so this is how it looks right now. I don't have much hope for it because it doesn't look good. I feel like I should have shredded the carrot more finely, but we'll see how it goes. So I made my syrup, which I just dropped my spoon in, and there's less of it than I thought there was going to be. This is what it looks like. I just put it in a latte though, and it actually tastes quite strange. It definitely doesn't taste like carrot cake or carrots at all. I think my issue was that I didn't shred it well enough, so it didn't like, I strained it afterwards, and I think I mainly just strained the like sugar and the spices, because this tastes like a cinnamon, like brown sugar cinnamon latte, so it does taste good, but not carrot cake. I hope you enjoyed the pumpkin patch content that I just put together. I haven't filmed in a few days. I actually haven't been reading since I finished Dracula, but I'm in the mood to read tonight, so I will be picking up the Possession of Albadias. That's the name of the book. I actually brought it with me to the pumpkin patch and didn't read it because I was busy. But that was my first time ever being at a pumpkin patch, and it was pretty good. It was just like a field of pumpkins placed in it. Like, you don't dig up the pumpkins, which I knew going into it would be the case, but it was still fun. I got lots of like good photos and videos, and yeah, tonight I'm just going to chill. I'm going to read my book, and then tomorrow I'm going to go on an autumn walk and get some lunch, so I'll take you with me when I do that as well. It's going to be a very Halloween autumnal vlog, of course, and yeah, I think I'm going to post this video on Halloween because it's very fitting. And yeah, I'll update you when I get a bit into the Possession of Albadias, because that is another horror book that I can't wait to get to. Hopefully I can get a decent amount away for it tonight. Her books, Isabel Canya's, her books are usually quite fast paced, and I can get through them in like 1 to 2 sittings. They're really easy to read. They are just really unputdownable. It's actually the next day now, and I didn't read last night because I actually have been playing this game on my Nintendo Switch, which I used to play as a kid. It's Super Mario Galaxy 2, and it was like my favourite game as a kid, and the only way I could play it now is to like figure out how to set up my like ancient Wii console and play it on that, but that's a lot of effort, and I'd have to like find the Wii and then like fiddle about with all the wires and like find batteries for all the remotes and stuff. So I kind of just gave up on like ever playing it again. And then a few months ago I searched up like if there was a Switch version of the game, and nothing came up, but I just randomly got reminded of it again 2 days ago. So I googled it, and a Switch version of the game was just released like 2 weeks ago, and I had no clue. So I immediately bought it, and I am now like a third of the way through the game in like 24 hours, just over 24 hours. So I didn't read last night, but I've had my lunch now. I'm actually going to taste test a cookie that I bought. Yeah, these are the cookies. This M&S gingerbread and white chocolate cookies. So I know this is a Halloween vlog, but this is kind of a festive Christmassy cookie, but oh well. I've heard good things about them. They look really sweet, so I don't know how I'm gonna like them, but there's 5 in a packet, which is far too much for me. I would just love to buy them individually because, yeah, usually I just want to try one and then the rest kind of go stale, but I'm gonna try this just now and then get to reading. Actually have a reading update now. Who knew I would actually start reading in a reading vlog? But anyways, I started physically reading The Possession of Alba Diaz and I'm actually 119 pages in, which is just under 300 pages from the end. It's like 409 pages, I think. So I am a decent amount of the way through it and this didn't take me long. It's fairly simple to read, which a lot of her books are. They're just very digestible. They're not simple, like she has very beautiful writing, but yeah, they are like digestible, and also the margins are tiny or huge in this, so there's like a huge gap, so the font is really squished in, so it's actually, even though it's 400 pages, if this was like smaller font and more like on a page, I think this book would be way shorter. I don't think this is going to take me long at all, but now I'm finally into it. It's a slow build, but yeah, again, because the font's so big, it actually wasn't that long to get to 100 pages, but she's actually just been possessed, or at least I think she has. I described a bit about this book in the intro, but basically this woman Alba, her family, she gets married off to this man called Carlos and they all decide to flee Spain because of the plague that's going around. So they go to Carlos' family's mine, which is located in Mexico, and on her first day there, or one of her first days there, her mother asks Carlos to give them a tour of the house and the mine, and Alba kind of gets lost because she hears this child crying, so she goes to try and find it, but she can't find it, and then she gets lost and basically has a panic attack and starts screaming, and Carlos's cousin Elias actually finds her and her hands are like covered in blood, and we don't really know what happened to her. She doesn't even know what happened. She was still convinced that there was like a child in there somewhere, and also some weird things have been happening. She's been fainting quite a bit, and also she like stepped into her shoes and there's like gravel in her shoes. So I think she has been possessed already. There's also a forbidden romance in this. There's a forbidden romance in every single one of this author's books. The last one I read, The Hacienda, it was between the main character and a priest, and this time it's between the main character and her husband's cousin Elias. I have high hopes for this one. The writing's really good, and yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to take me too long to get through. And I also started people watching on audiobook while I was tidying my room. I only got like 3 chapters in, so I'm not really like sure where it's going to go so far. But what I do know is it follows 2 main characters, Milo and Prudence. And Prudence lives in this small town. They're actually both from the small town, but Prudence still lives there and she's actually taking care of her mum who has Alzheimer's. And Milo is basically, when he got the chance, he fled the town. Him and his siblings didn't have the best childhood, so he's been trying basically to run away from that his whole life. But he has to return to the small town for 2 months, and I know some sort of relationship ensues between Prudence and Milo, so we'll see where this goes. I am enjoying it so far. It's a bit weird listening to romance on audiobooks. I always find it quite strange. I don't know why. Especially when it gets to the spicier scenes, I always find it a lot more awkward when I'm listening to it, but we'll see where this goes. It's quite short. The audiobook is only a few hours long when I listen to it on 3 times speed, so I think I should get this done in no time. I was pretty successful last night in getting into The Possession of Alba Diaz. I am literally 100 pages from the end, and today I plan on finishing it. I don't think it'll take long, like I flew through the first 300 pages of this. I plan on going on an autumn walk. I'm actually going to go into Glasgow and I'm going to get some lunch there. There's this like focaccia cafe that I've been wanting to try for ages, so I'm going to go there. and I'm also going to have a walk around the necropolis, which is like a really old Victorian graveyard. And yeah, I'm just going to take my book with me and have a nice autumnal day. So I have a reading update because I've finally been reading. First is that I finally finished The Possession of Alba Diaz. I don't know why I keep saying finally, because I read this in 2 sittings. It's no, 3 sittings. Yeah, 3 sittings. It's a very fast-paced book, and also the margins were really big, so it actually wasn't as long as the 400-page count. But I am going to give this 4 stars. This, I think, sits probably in the middle of her books in terms of my ranking of them. I think The Vampires of El Norte is still my favourite, because when I was reading this one, it felt very similar to the Hacienda. I don't know if it's just because I read it last month or 2 months ago, so I'm kind of just comparing the two, but they felt the most similar. Vampires of El Norte was a lot more different, but yeah, these two just felt so similar because it follows like female main characters who recently marry into a family who have secrets, and in the Hacienda the house is haunted, and in this the mine is haunted. And yeah, it just felt quite similar, and there's also forbidden romance in both of them, but I do think I preferred the forbidden romance in this, which is why I slightly prefer it to the Hacienda. But yeah, maybe if I read them a bit further apart, they would have felt more unique from each other. But yeah, overall, I love this author's writing, and I'll still continue to read what she writes. I actually decided on picking my next read, which I don't think should take me too long because it's definitely a light, fast-paced read, and that is Rewitched, which is a cozy fantasy romance book. And I think I mentioned the synopsis at the start of the vlog, but yeah, she is a witch who hasn't really been utilising her powers because she has a very stressful life. She is doing a lot of hours at her work. She doesn't really get along with her boss. She's trying to hide the fact that she's a witch as well, so she just hasn't really had time to focus on her powers. So she's been put up for this trial or trials to prove that she's worthy of keeping her powers. And I know there's some sort of romance in there as well. I think we've already met the love interest. And yeah, I'm only 50 pages in and there's 400 pages, but it is really fast paced. It's actually, I noticed this while I was reading it, it's like 70% dialogue and 30% exposition, which I don't love. I prefer being in a character's head and getting descriptions and world building than I do like actual just conversations between two characters. But overall, I think this is going to be a really quick paced read, so we'll see how this goes. Out just now grabbing some things for dinner, and I just found out that Waterstones is actually doing double stamps today, and I am also only 1.5 stamps away from £10 off. So I am actually going to pop into Waterstones, which is right next to where I need to grab stuff for dinner anyway, and I'm going to buy a book. There's a book I was looking at in this specific Waterstones and I hope it's still there. I've been debating picking it up or like buying it for a while now, and now this is like the perfect excuse. went into Waterstones, as you saw, I did buy a book. And I also ordered one online. It's called The Everlasting, and it was the exclusive signed edition, which was sold out for a while, but they brought it back in stock and I snatched one of those up as well, so I got double stamps on that, I think. But the book I got is The Works of Vermin, which I was tempted to pick up a few times when I've been in Waterstones. It was £22, but it was £4 off. And oh, I didn't realise this was an exclusive edition. Has end pages, or maybe this is just the normal edition anyway. I don't know much about this. I know it's a dark fantasy about this city that's kind of like overrun by bugs, and the main character is some sort of exterminator, and it's slightly horror as well. That's all I know. The reviews have been really positive, so I think this could be a cool November read. Just because I'm like in the mood for a lot of dark fantasy this coming month, I think, so I'll add this to the list. I also have 2 new bookmarks. I just thought these were so cute. They're just kind of little animals. I think this style, I don't know if it's from a book or if it's a famous painter, but I've seen these kind of like mice drawings before, and then this one's just like a woodland scene at night. They're both just very cute, and actually this one goes very well with the new book. For a final reading update, I finished Rewitched like really quickly. It is such a fast-paced read, but unfortunately I'm giving it 2 stars. This is the kind of cozy fantasy that I don't love. A lot of it was just dialogue. It was also just far too long. Like, the story wasn't interesting enough for it to be over 400 pages, and I'd say the middle 200 just dragged. Like, the trials that she was going through to like regain her magic just weren't interesting enough for me to read like 250 pages about them. And yeah, I actually don't have my copy on me because I sold it for like £20 or £15 on Vinted, so win is a win, I guess. I'm also literally only 18 minutes away from finishing the audiobook of this, but I think I'm going to give it 3 stars. I can see where it's going. It's kind of fallen into the typical like 3rd act breakup that you normally get in romances. So I'm kind of at that point, and yeah, I just know it's going to get resolved, and I just see this being 3 stars, which is pretty typical for me to give romance 3 stars. I'd say I'm slightly more interested in this than some other romances that I've read on average, where I thought like the character's story outside of the romance was interesting. Like, they're going through some pretty tough stuff. The male main character has kind of got a lot of trauma from his childhood, and the female main character is dealing with like a sick parent, so that's like heavily involved in the book, which I did like because it added more depth than just a romance. But in comparison to her other book, Out on a Limb, which I gave 5 stars, it just didn't hold up for me. But overall, I did really like it. I like the cozy small town vibes. It definitely fits like a chill fall autumn romance. Yeah, if you like romance, I would recommend. But yeah, that is the 4. I read 4 books in this reading vlog, and I loved Dracula. Didn't love Rewitched. The Possession of Albudias was also great, and People Watching was also a win, I'd say. So overall, it was successful. I'm glad I kind of picked spooky, horror, autumnal books because this is a Halloween reading vlog. I also did a lot of autumnal activities, kind of more than I actually had planned initially, but it was all great fun, and yeah, I hope it makes a good vlog. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.